Hi guys, welcome to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Kyra, and here on my channel we are all about real makeup for real life and real people. Today's video is all about some forgotten favorites from earlier this year in 2020. Some of these were released in 2020 and some of these were just new to me in 2020. This idea came from a video that I watched from Charlotte Holdcroft. If you are not watching her yet and you love high-end and luxury makeup, I really highly suggest that you check out her channel. She is very entertaining to watch. She is from the UK and she has just really well-formed thoughts and opinions on the makeup that she chooses to purchase, review, and continue to use. But the purpose of this video is just to look back on some of the favorites from earlier this year. I do a series on my channel called Month in Review, where every month I talk about some of my top products, bottom products, and a few shenanigans in between. So all of these products were featured in that series at some point or another earlier in the year. And we're going to use those products, show those products in action today, talk about whether they're still favorites. Do I still use them? Do I still reach for them regularly? Or are they as good as I remember them to be from earlier in the year? I personally have a terrible memory. I can't remember what I had for breakfast yesterday, although I probably can because I've been on a rye toast kick again. But the reality is I just want to recheck in with these favorites from earlier this year and let you know my thoughts. So with all of that said, we better get into it because I like to talk. I went ahead and applied my primer because I do like to let it sit a little bit before I apply my foundation. But the primer is the Tatcha Silk Canvas primer. This is just a little mini. As you can see, I've definitely used a lot of this. Is it still a favorite? Yes, with a caveat. I haven't been wearing a ton of primer overall this year. I've kind of come to the understanding within myself that I like primer for a specific purpose, but not for an everyday basis personally. And we'll talk more about that with the foundation, but this is a beautiful primer. I do like having it in my collection. I'd like to continue to have it in my collection, but it's not something I reach for a whole ton, mostly because my sunscreen actually acts as a primer. I'll put it up on the screen here. It's the Coats Face Moisture Lightly Tinted Sunscreen SPF 35. I wear this every day and it has dimethicone in it, so it very much acts like a primer to the skin, and that's the main reason that I don't wear primer. For foundation, I have the Clinique Even Better Makeup. I have mine in the shade WN16, and this is SPF 15. And this brings me to my next point, and that is, altogether, I haven't been wearing much foundation this year at all. And so it's not that this isn't a favorite anymore. I love this foundation. It's been a really good, what do I want to say, substitution, so to speak, for the Physicians Formula, the Healthy foundation that I was using a lot before, and that one's just become harder to find, harder to get. A lot of people aren't buying from Physicians Formula anymore, so I don't like to feature it on my channel too much, but it is a nice foundation. However, this one is very similar in coverage and all of that, so I do like this foundation. I just overall haven't been wearing as much foundation this year, especially during the summer. But even since summer has gone, I kind of got used to seeing my skin without a primer on, and I like the way it looks. I just like the look of skin. And also, when I have been wearing foundation, it's been more like a BB cream or tinted moisturizer things like that. My Misha BB cream is my all-time favorite foundation product, and so this one, while it's a great foundation, I don't know, I guess maybe I wouldn't call it a favorite anymore. It's not something I reach for a ton, but I do like this one on the occasion that I do want to reach for foundation. Okay, good job, Kyra. All right, for concealer, if you've been around for a while, you will know that this is 100% still a favorite. Love this concealer. It is the Glossier Stretch Concealer. I have 2 shades, but my current shade I've been using is G9, and I love this. I love this for blemishes. I love this for my under eye. I even will use this sometimes as like almost like a spot foundation. I'll just kind of dip my sponge in and press it into the areas of my skin that I just want to conceal a little bit, throw a little under the eyes, and that's like my entire base routine for the day. So I love this product. I really like that it's so versatile as well for all the, you know, purposes that I just mentioned. It's just such a nice concealer. For me, it has the perfect amount of coverage. I don't have a ton of deep dark circles, but it does do the job. It does the job well enough for me. And it doesn't make my under eyes look super dry, which is always a thing for me. That's like the number one thing that I look for in a concealer, is for it to not make my under eyes look super dry. A favorite powder earlier this year was, again, not a product that was released this year, but it is a product that I tried this year, along with the Tatcha Silk Canvas and a few other products. These were things that I purchased for my birthday in January to treat myself, and that is the Hourglass Veil Translucent Setting Powder. And this is definitely still a favorite. This is hands down my favorite loose powder. I think I will go ahead and purchase the full size when this one is all gone, because this sets my makeup without making it look powdery. And that's, again, what I'm looking for. Like with a concealer, I don't want a concealer that makes my under eyes look dry. I don't want a powder that makes my face look powdery. I just want it to look like I have good skin. I like this powder not only over foundation and other makeup, but I like it just on its own, just to kind of take down the shine a little bit, things like that. I'll put it on after I've spot concealed and whatnot, and it works really nice for that. It's so thin, and I don't know, it just is such a nice powder. It's so finely milled. To each their own. I like the Laura Mercier, and I still like the Laura Mercier. This one works really well for my skin when it's not hot outside in terms of setting my makeup, whereas the Laura Mercier I tend to lean on a little bit more during the warmer months to set my makeup and help with shine control, oil control, that kind of thing. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and do my brows off camera. Nothing exciting, nothing new or anything like that, and then we'll come back for the fun stuff, finish off the face, do some eyeshadow, all that good stuff. All right, we are back. Brows are did, and we're ready for bronzer. And I almost put in the Marc Jacobs Omega Bronze in 104 Tintastic as a favorite from earlier this year, but then I looked a little further and I thought, let's do cream bronzer. So the favorite for me from earlier this year is the Fenty Beauty Cheeks Out Freestyle Cream Bronzer in the shade Butter Biscuit. And I haven't picked this one up for a while, but it's still a favorite. I just, during the summer, again, I know a lot of people use cream products during the summer. For me, a lot of the cream products kind of melt off my face during the summer. This one's kind of fallen by the wayside a little bit. But it is a beautiful bronzer. I really enjoy it. I like that I can actually powder my face. That's one thing I like about the powder, but I also like about this bronzer formula, and that is that it will go over a lightweight powder, and lightweight powder is the Hourglass Veil Powder. And I do like this little Sephora, what do you call it? Sephora Collection Pro Mini 55.5 airbrush brush. I like it because I can kind of press it on where I want it and then lightly blend it out. This was the Rouge gift, I think, for 2018. Yeah. And I did do a which cream bronzer is right for you kind of video, and I do think in the end for myself I kind of picked the Tarte Sea Breezy cream bronzer, and that is a beautiful one as well. But this was kind of the cream bronzer that started all the cream bronzers. This one is just very user friendly as well, is the main reason why it is a favorite. Blends easily, builds easily, doesn't look, you know, I mean, it looks nice and healthy on the skin. It's not sticky or anything I would call dewy or anything like that. It's just a beautiful cream bronzer. So while I haven't reached for this one quite as much as some other favorites that I'll be talking about today, I do love this so much. Really, really love it. I will say though, now looking at my skin, I'm not loving how the foundation looks today. For highlighter, earlier this year, you guys might remember how in love I was both with the bronzer and the highlighter, but with the Clinique Powder Pop Flower highlighter and bronzers that they brought out. This is the highlighter in the shade Lunar Pop. Yes, Lunar Pop. Love the bronzer as well, but I said I just wanted to go with a cream bronzer today. But this is just one of those that's so like glossy. It looks beautiful on the skin, even though my skin looks really textured right now. It's kind of really special. It's got kind of pinky, peachy, champagne-y, maybe not pinky, maybe just peachy, champagne-y gold, maybe? But it's really beautiful. I don't know that I would say I like this one over the Nabla one that I've been raving about most recently, but I do love this highlighter. It's one of those highlighters that goes really well with just about anything that you would want to wear on the rest of your face. So it's one of those good just kind of standby highlighters that you can just have on hand and grab for it when you are, you know, not sure what highlighter to use. Still love it. Still reach for this one for sure. And then just to show you the product, and you can decide if you think it's still a favorite or not, I pulled my ColourPop Super Shock. I always do that. Super Shock Cheek or Blush in the shade Between the Sheets. I have a ton of pan in here. I absolutely love this blush. To me, this is like my perfect pinky blush. I could wear this, you know, 5 days a week and not get sick of it because it's just such a lovely color, if nothing else. It's just a beautiful color. And I'm not the only one who feels that way. A lot of people that I watch like collection videos or even declutters, they don't have a ton of like ColourPop Super Shock things in their collection, but they might have one Super Shock blush in their collection, and it's always this one. And it's just a beautiful color. I have 2 other Super Shock blushes in my collection, and while I love both of those, this is definitely the one that I have gotten the most use out of. And I also like that I can apply it any old way that I want. Use a brush, use a sponge. I probably don't use a sponge as much as a brush or my fingers, but it is so pretty. And I love the Super Shock formula because it doesn't stay tacky or anything like that, so it's a real safe bet for my more combination skin, which I love. And these do tend to last on me all day. I am becoming more and more a lover of ColourPop. I love it. I think too, you can't beat the price. You really can't. Oh, look at that. That just looks so cute. Oh, cute. Oh, pink nose. And this would be one, if I use this up, 100 would repurchase right away. So I certainly had my fair share of selection of eyeshadow palettes that were purchased earlier this year that were favorites that I wanted to check in on, but specifically I want to put some juju out in the world about this palette, because today we're going to use the Natasha Denona Mini Retro palette, and I want to use this and I want to put it out in the universe that I really want a midi size retro palette. Just saying. Plus, I really wanted to play with the greens today. I go into the pinks quite a bit, but I really wanted to, you know, kind of go green today, for lack of a better way to put it. But we are gonna go ahead and start off with some of the pink matte, which is Vintage Taupe in the crease. Just a nice little wash before we go into the greens. This is going to be a relatively simple eye look, but I'm excited to use this again nonetheless. I do reach for these Natasha Denona mini palettes quite a bit, so this is definitely still a favorite. As I said before, when I got this palette and everything, this is Kyra in a palette. These are my colors. This is my jam. This is my personality. It feels very almost like 70s inspired colors to me because of the green and everything. So, and just the fact that overall the colors are a little bit like dustied or grayed out to me. So I'm excited. This is definitely something I reach for a lot. I reach for my mini Natasha Denona palettes quite a bit. Going into the matte green called 60s, I'm using the Pro All Over Shader brush from Beauty Junkies. I like to call it the teddy bear brush because it is super soft. And I'm just gonna apply this matte green probably over the outer third to half of the lid, and then we're going to lightly blend it up into the crease. One of the other palettes I considered using in today's video, but ultimately didn't go with the clothes that I was going to wear today, is the Natasha Denona Love palette that came out this year. And I don't know, I haven't used that one much since reviewing it, so I don't know that I'd call it a favorite anymore or not, but I do still like it. I just think for me that specific palette is not at all a standalone palette. It's a palette that I would combine with other neutrals that aren't pink, purple, or red and use in that way. I'm gonna go ahead and pick up this flat square brush and place just a smidge on the outer part of the lower lash line, and then I'll go in with a pencil brush and the pink to kind of blend things out. Okay, going back into the matte pink, starting on the inside and working my way out. Taking my teddy bear brush again, I'm gonna go into the second shade in the palette, that beautiful silvery green called Industrial. I do believe that's an existing shade from another palette, which I didn't realize when I bought this palette, but it really doesn't matter. I believe it was in the Star palette, maybe, like the full-size Star palette. I'm not for sure, but doesn't matter to me because I don't have the other palette. Pull that up a little. Yeah, nice soft application. I added a little bit more with my finger, and now we're gonna go into this beautiful sort of duochrome, kind of a taupe shade. Kind of reminds me of like a Super Shock shadow. And I'm gonna put this just on the very inner part of the lid here. Such a pretty sparkle. I definitely will be hitting pan on that shade in this palette first, no doubt. And then I'll just kind of blend it into the green. Love. This is why I need a midi size palette, and they need to include this shade as well. I feel like somebody said that this shade also was an existing shade, but I can't remember. Now, I don't remember if this mascara came out this year or if I just tried it this year. Either way it goes, it's one of the newer mascaras from CoverGirl. I remember loving this, like thinking, screw Milk Makeup Kush mascara, I want to use this one for the rest of my life. And then, of course, I had a bunch of mascaras on hand, and I've tried a few since then, but I want to try this one again. I remember it being good right out of the gate, so we'll find out today, because I have a brand new tube of the CoverGirl Exhibitionist mascara. Now, this is just the Exhibitionist. This is not the Exhibitionist Uncensored. I did not care for that one. That Uncensored one was, and in my opinion, very similar to the It Cosmetics Superhero. So if you do like that kind of, you know, kind of clumpy, very voluminous lash, then you might like that one better. I like a more feathery, fluffy lash personally, defined, lengthened, not as much volume. Definitely prefer no clumping. I'm gonna speed through this, but I will show you the application of at least one eyeball. Fantastic. I love it so much. Okay, for lips, I picked out something that I think was on the top of many people's list earlier this year, and those are the Revlon Super Lustrous Melting Glass Shine lipsticks. This is sort of the Revlon version of the L'Oreal Color Riche Shine. It's more like a tinted balm than it is an actual lipstick. I have the shade Nude Illuminator, which I think is the one we will use today. And then I also have this really pretty shade called Glazed Mauve. This is really similar to my favorite of the L'Oreal Color Riche Shine, which is Varnished Rosewood. But first, we must line. And I think I'm gonna use an old favorite that has been a favorite for many years already, and that is the MAC Lip Liner in Whirl. Okay, we are lined. These smell so good, even better than the L'Oreal. And I do still reach for these all the time, especially with COVID, because they're just comfortable. They're not super opaque. They're comfortable. They're comfortable. You get what I'm saying? I always feel like I need more blush. Let's do more, shall we? All right, I'm gonna pop off of here real quick, do something with the hair, maybe some jewelry, all that jazz, and then I'll come back and give you my final thoughts on these 2020 forgotten favorites. All right, so here we are at the end of this little get ready with me using my 2020 forgotten favorites. And I think the only one that's not really still a favorite is maybe this Clinique foundation, and not because it's a bad foundation. This is a really nice foundation. If you like a solid medium coverage, demi matte finish, things like that, you're looking for a brand that has a pretty good shade selection, I do recommend this one. I actually got this for free as a diamond gift because I'm diamond at Ulta. It was one of the things I could pick, and that's how I ended up with this. Got lucky that it was a good shade match and everything, and it is a really nice foundation. It's not going anywhere out of my collection. It's just that I don't wear a lot of foundation. You know, we already talked about all of that, but this is probably the only thing that is not still a favorite. And then the Tatcha Silk Canvas primer, while it's a beautiful primer, I do like it. Overall, I just am not a big fan of wearing primers, possibly because I don't wear a lot of foundation, but this is absolutely beautiful. I will work on using it up in the new year because there's just, you know, I've got a lot of usage on it already, and at the very least I'd like to just use it up before it goes bad. Probably the standout star of the day is definitely the Natasha Denona Mini Retro Palette. I love this. I do reach for it still. It is definitely still a favorite, but I haven't gotten to reach for it as much as I would have liked, simply because I'm a palette hoarder. My name is Kyra and I hoard eyeshadow palettes. So yeah, still a favorite. If you don't have that one yet, I do highly recommend it, and everything else was great. I am super excited to have the CoverGirl Exhibitionist mascara back in my life. I do like me an Hourglass wand. It's wet, but it's not too wet. It's, you know, not too dry either. It's really beautiful, and it gives length, which is always what I'm looking for. I don't mind a little bit of volume, but I am just more than happy if I have that definition and the length on my lashes. So thank you to Charlotte Holdcroft for this idea. I really enjoyed her video. I've watched it multiple times. And of course, like I said, that will be linked down in the description box, so go check out that video, because her favorites were fun to watch in action as well. Also, thank you for spending part of your day here with me today. I really appreciate you. I hope you enjoyed today's video as much as I enjoyed filming it. And I hope all of your makeup days are absolutely beautiful, revived, forgotten favorite makeup days. And I will see you in my next video real soon.